Every morning, just seconds after your eyes open, a silent battle begins. And most people lose it without even knowing. You wake up thinking you're just getting out of bed, but what you're really doing is stepping onto the battlefield of your mind. And here's the cruel truth. If you don't take command of your thoughts in those first fragile moments, they will command you. You'll be pulled into the same loop, doubt, fear, distraction, before your feet even touch the floor. But there's another way. A path hidden in plain sight, one that only the truly disciplined ever choose to walk. Have you ever wondered why some people, regardless of their circumstances, seem to move through life with unshakable clarity? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's a decision. A decision made every morning before the world has a chance to whisper its doubts into their ears. Napoleon Hill didn't just talk about success, he revealed that its roots lie deep within the soil of your subconscious. And the moment of awakening. That is when the soil is most fertile. You can plant seeds of greatness or let weeds of fear grow wild. What you repeat to yourself right there in bed is not a ritual, it's a resurrection. Now, pause and ask yourself, what were the first words you spoke to yourself this morning? Did you affirm your power, or did you silently surrender to the anxiety, the routine, the noise of yesterday's failures? Hill taught that the dominating thoughts you allow into your mind, especially in moments of stillness, will shape your reality. So why do we treat our mornings like throwaway minutes? Why do we hand over our most powerful seconds to autopilot? Imagine if, instead of scrolling or snoozing, you whispered to yourself a truth so powerful it rewired your day. Imagine starting with conviction, not confusion, with purpose, not passivity. Just 3 or 4 sentences, spoken with belief, charged with vision, can shift the course of your entire life. This is not motivation. This is mental architecture. And every morning, your bed is the blueprint table where you decide who you will become. Because here's what no one tells you. Transformation doesn't begin in the gym, at your job, or even in your goals. It begins the moment you wake up, when your mind is naked, unguarded, and wide open. That is the moment to speak directly to your future, to command your subconscious like the general of an army, to shape your destiny before the world shapes you. Repeat this every morning in your bed right after waking up, and you'll discover that your greatest weapon has always been within you, your own voice. There is a moment, so brief and yet so powerful that most people never notice it. It's the space between dreaming and waking. The instant your eyes blink open and the world hasn't yet claimed you. In that silence, your mind is a blank page, and what you choose to write there determines the story of your day, and eventually, the story of your life. Napoleon Hill understood that the subconscious mind, in those first tender moments of the morning, is like freshly turned soil, ready to accept any seed you plant, whether of greatness or defeat. But what do most people plant? Doubt, delay, distraction. The voice that says just 5 more minutes is not just about sleep, it's about postponing your purpose. The world has trained us to underestimate our own power. And yet, Hill taught that the dominating thoughts we allow to occupy our minds become the magnet for our reality. If you wake up and feed your mind fear, you will attract fear. If you rise and breathe belief into your bones, you begin to summon the invisible forces of success. Now ask yourself this: what if, for the next 21 days, you repeated a new truth every morning in your bed, before the world whispered its noise? What if you replaced passive thoughts with deliberate commands to your subconscious? Hill was clear. Autosuggestion is not some vague ritual. It is the very tool by which the mind reshapes destiny. Words, repeated with emotion and intention, are the chisels that carve identity. Think of your mind like a garden. You are either planting or neglecting, watering or starving. And when is the soil most fertile? Not in the chaos of the afternoon or the fatigue of night, but in that sacred instant upon waking. This is not a motivational speech. This is war strategy for the battlefield of your thoughts. Because your greatest enemy is not the world. It's the silent belief you rehearse when no one is watching. So the question is no longer should you speak to yourself each morning, but what you will say. Because something will take root in those fragile first moments. The only choice you truly have is whether it will be weeds or greatness. When Napoleon Hill wrote about the power of thought, he wasn't speaking in metaphors, he meant it literally. Every thought you repeat to yourself becomes a command to your subconscious mind. And your subconscious doesn't filter, doesn't question, doesn't debate. It obeys. It is the silent worker that builds the architecture of your reality brick by invisible brick. So, what are you instructing it to build when you wake up and immediately scroll, complain, or surrender to anxiety? You see, your mind at dawn is like clay, soft, responsive, impressionable. That's not a weakness. That is your advantage. But most people squander it by flooding their consciousness with other people's noise before they've even spoken their own truth. Hill would call this drifting, a dangerous mental state where the individual surrenders their power to circumstance, to routine, to whatever the day decides. But those who lead their thoughts at the edge awaken, they lead their life. And the practice is disarmingly simple. You don't need incense or silence or a perfect room. You need only one thing: intention. The moment your eyes open, speak to yourself with the clarity of a commander. Say what you intend to become, not what you fear you are. Declare your success before the world has the chance to label you with yesterday's failures. These are not just words, they are psychological blueprints. Imagine a builder showing up to a job site every day without a plan. The bricks may be solid, the tools sharp, but without a vision, he builds nothing but a wall. That is how most people live. Waking up and reacting. But Hill taught us to respond, not react, to direct, not drift. The first step to taking control of your life is to take control of your morning. And the first step to taking control of your morning is to take control of your thoughts in bed. Because here's a truth you cannot escape. If you don't tell your mind who you are each morning, the world will do it for you. And the world is not always kind, not always clear, and never truly invested in your greatness. But you are. So why not act like it, while your soul is still quiet enough to hear itself? The voice you use in the morning becomes the architect of your inner world. Whisper fear, and fear will echo all day. Speak conviction, and it will carry you like wind in your sails. Hill understood that success is not a stroke of fortune. It is the fruit of discipline. And discipline begins not in action, but in thought. You cannot act like a leader if you wake up thinking like a victim. You cannot build wealth if you begin each day telling yourself you're poor in spirit. The most powerful transformation begins invisibly, in the unseen rehearsal of identity. You must become the actor, the director, and the screenwriter of your mental movie. Each morning, you walk onto the stage of your life. The script is blank. The lights are waiting. And yet, so many repeat the same tired lines of worry, of shame, of limitation. Hill taught us that your subconscious will accept any role you assign it. Rich or poor, bold or hesitant, creator or drifter. It does not resist. It simply becomes. That is why your morning affirmations are not just positive thinking. They are commands. When you say, "I am focused," your mind begins to organize around focus. When you declare, "I am relentless," your decisions begin to reflect that. And when you whisper, "I am the master of my fate," the world bends, slowly but surely, to meet the standard you have set. This is not magic. It is psychology. And it is unstoppable when practiced with intention. But here's where most people go wrong. They say the words, but they don't feel them. The key lies not in repetition alone, but in emotional intensity. Hill warned that the subconscious mind is activated by emotion, by faith, by desire, by belief so strong it burns. You must speak your morning truth not like a chant, but like a vow. A sacred pact between who you are and who you are becoming. Because every day you wake up is not just another day. It is another chance. Another page in the book of your life. And if you are not writing that page with courage, clarity, and conviction, then someone else is, and they do not know the greatness you carry inside. There is a tragic habit many people share, and they don't even realize it. They wake up and instantly remember who they were yesterday. Every failure, every regret, every limitation. As if the past has the authority to dictate the future. But Napoleon Hill dismantled this illusion with one revolutionary truth. You are not your memories. You are your dominant thoughts. And every morning you are reborn with the power to choose new ones, if you dare. But most don't dare. They wake up already defeated, already apologizing to the day ahead. "I'm tired," they say. "I'm behind," they whisper. "I'm not ready." These are not just complaints. These are declarations. And the subconscious, faithful as ever, listens. It says, "Yes, as you wish." Hill would call this unconscious autosuggestion, the accidental hypnosis of the mediocre mind. Not because people want failure, but because they don't claim success. So what would happen if you interrupted that loop? If, instead of surrendering to the past, you inserted a new identity at the very first breath of the day? I am strong. I am focused. I am the builder of my destiny. These words, repeated in the sanctuary of your own bed, don't just sound different. They feel different. They activate. They ignite. They begin to reshape the very structure of your beliefs, which, in turn, reshape your behavior. Hill reminded us that belief is the beginning of all achievement. But belief is not something you find. It's something you create, word by word, choice by choice. And where better to start than the moment you are untouched by the noise of the world, undistracted by demands, unburdened by expectation. In that moment, you are pure potential, and the words you choose are the code that unlocks that potential, or buries it. So, if you've spent too many mornings reliving the pain of yesterday, it's time to reclaim them. Speak like the person you were born to become. Not just once, not just when you feel like it, but every morning, without fail. Until the day you no longer repeat the words, because you are the words. There's a sacred silence in the early morning, a silence that doesn't exist anywhere else. Before the world wakes up, before the doubts speak louder than dreams, that silence is not empty. It is waiting, waiting for you to fill it with direction, with intention, with purpose. Napoleon Hill believed that the mind is most receptive at this hour, not because it is weak, but because it is open. And what you choose to plant in that soil determines the harvest of your life. But here's the paradox: most people rush past that moment. They wake up and immediately drown themselves in distraction. Notifications, emails, the endless scroll of other people's lives. They contaminate their mind before they even breathe in the stillness. Hill warned of this danger. He called it the influence of the hypnotic rhythm, the subtle pull of habit and routine that leads people to drift unconsciously through their own existence. And the longer you drift, the harder it becomes to remember you were meant to sail. This is why what you say to yourself first thing in the morning matters more than what anyone else says to you all day. Your first thought is your compass. It doesn't just point the way, it defines the terrain you'll be walking through. If you begin with doubt, the world will reflect obstacles. If you begin with strength, the world bends toward possibility. That's not mysticism, that's psychology. That's energy. That's your inner world projecting outward. Hill wrote that thoughts are things, and morning thoughts are the most potent of all. Spoken with conviction, they become a declaration of war against mediocrity. They remind your subconscious that you are not a leaf floating in the wind. You are the wind, and this wind carries the force of every dream you've ever dared to imagine, every goal you've hidden in the drawer of someday. Morning is no longer a routine. It becomes a ritual, a sacred act of creation. So tomorrow, when you wake up, don't just get out of bed. Rise with words of fire on your tongue. Rise with the soul of a creator and the heart of a warrior. And remember, the world doesn't need another person who simply survives the day. It needs you, fully alive, fully present, fully awake to the infinite power within. Somewhere deep inside you, there's a version of yourself you've seen only in glimpses. The version who doesn't procrastinate, who doesn't shrink in fear, who walks into every room with quiet certainty and speaks dreams into reality. You've seen them in moments of silence and flashes of inspiration, and then life interrupts. Doubt creeps in. Responsibilities suffocate the fire. Napoleon Hill called this the slow death of purpose, not because your vision isn't real, but because you haven't made it urgent. And urgency begins the moment you open your eyes. Not the kind of urgency that rushes or panics, but the sacred urgency of becoming. Hill taught us that people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they allow their minds to be dominated by uncontrolled thoughts, fear, distraction, excuses. So what do you feed your mind in the first 5 minutes of your day? Do you repeat the script of defeat or write a new one with authority and fire? This is why the words you whisper in your bed every morning are not a performance. They are a rebellion against the version of you who settles, who forgets, who tolerates. They are your line in the sand. No more. No more waiting, no more shrinking, no more surrendering your life to chance. Hill insisted that the greatest power in the world is the power of definite purpose, backed by unwavering belief. And that belief must be spoken, not later, not someday, now. When you say, "I am disciplined," you don't wait to feel it. You become it. When you say, "I am courageous," you don't look for proof. You create it. Your subconscious listens not to your circumstances but to your certainty. And morning is the only moment when that certainty is untouched by the noise of others. It is your private temple, your sacred forge, where identity is melted and reshaped by will. Because here is the truth. No one else is coming to save you. No one is going to wake you up with a map to your greatness. It has to come from you every morning, from the first breath, from the first thought. That is where the battle begins, and that is where it is won. You've been taught to chase motivation, to wait until you feel ready. But Napoleon Hill shattered that myth a century ago. He made it clear, action doesn't follow feeling. Feeling follows action. When you speak power into your mornings, you're not pretending. You are programming. You're initiating the emotion that creates momentum. And when repeated daily, that momentum becomes character. Character becomes destiny. The danger lies in hesitation, in waking up and giving yourself even 5 seconds to doubt. Because in those 5 seconds, the mind can invite 1,000 reasons to stay small. Hill warned of this exact trap, the delay between thought and execution. He said the successful don't negotiate with their fears. They command their day before fear even wakes up. And that command begins not with a planner or a goal sheet, but with the words you allow to echo inside your skull the moment your eyes open. Think about that. You are the first voice your soul hears every day. And what do you say? I'm tired? It's too hard? Or do you rise with the strength of a mind that refuses to drift? A mind trained by decision, sharpened by repetition, elevated by purpose. Morning declarations are not just positive phrases, they are weapons. Weapons against doubt, against laziness, against the inertia that kills potential slowly and silently. Hill said that the subconscious doesn't care whether what you feed it is true or false. It simply accepts repetition. So imagine what happens when you feed it truth. Not circumstantial truth, but visionary truth. The truth of who you are becoming, of what you are building, of the purpose you are claiming. Over time, those words become your internal GPS. And suddenly, distractions lose power. Fear loses its grip. The path becomes clear because you become clear. So don't underestimate the ritual. Don't dismiss the quiet moments. They are not small. They are the birthplace of greatness. You're not just waking up, you're awakening. And if you keep speaking to yourself like the person you were designed to be, eventually, the world will have no choice but to see you that way too. There will come a morning, perhaps sooner than you think, when you wake up and realize you're no longer waiting, no longer wishing, no longer wondering if you're enough. You will feel it in your chest like a calm storm, a silent knowing that you have become the architect of your reality. Not by luck, not by accident, but by repetition, by decision, by speaking the words that shaped your identity before the world had a chance to shape it for you. Napoleon Hill taught that faith is the eternal elixir, but faith must be self-generated, not borrowed. And the way you generate it is through constant, intentional self-suggestion. Not once, not occasionally, but every single morning. On the days you feel strong and on the days you feel broken. Because those words you whisper in the dark, they're not just affirmations. They are seeds, and one day, without warning, they will bloom. There is a version of you that already exists in the invisible, powerful, focused, unstoppable, and every morning you either align with that version or delay the encounter. Hill's greatest gift was not just in helping people succeed, It was in teaching them that they could choose to become their highest self through the deliberate shaping of thought. You are not your past. You are not your doubts. You are what you consistently declare yourself to be. So tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, do not rise by accident. Rise by design. Open your eyes and speak as if your future is listening. Because it is. The world bends to the will of the one who refuses to remain asleep. And if you've heard this message all the way through, it's because something inside you is already waking up. Say it with me now, not as a mantra, but as a decision. Today, I am the master of my thoughts. I am the designer of my destiny. I rise with purpose. I move with certainty. I am already becoming everything I was meant to be. Imagine this. The world is not waiting for you to wake up. It's waiting for the right version of you to awaken. The version of you who no longer second guesses, no longer hesitates, no longer seeks validation. The version who understands that every second of hesitation is a second lost in the pursuit of greatness. Napoleon Hill once said, "The starting point of all achievement is desire." But desire alone is not enough. Desire without action is just a dream. And action begins with thought. Thought, when focused and repeated, becomes the force that drives you toward everything you want and deserve. But how many people wake up each day and immediately let their minds wander? They let their thoughts be hijacked by negativity, by the chaos of the world, by the burdens of yesterday. They don't take control of their mornings. They surrender them to habit, to autopilot. And in doing so, they let their destiny slip through their fingers, unaware that the key to everything they want is already in their hands. Hill taught us that success isn't just about doing, it's about being. Being the person who makes decisions, being the person who acts with clarity, being the person who speaks their future into existence. And every morning, the first step to becoming that person is to consciously declare your intentions. Out loud, without apology, without fear. Just as a general declares victory before the battle begins. That is how you claim your day. That is how you claim your life. So, what will it take for you to wake up with purpose? What will it take to rise with unshakable certainty, knowing that the life you are dreaming of is already being created, one morning at a time? The answer is simple. It takes you, fully awake, fully engaged, and fully committed to speaking the words that bring your purpose to life. Those words will make you invincible. Those words will create a force within you that cannot be stopped. Every moment of doubt is a betrayal of your own potential. Napoleon Hill said that success comes to those who can convince themselves that they are destined for greatness. But here's the catch. The moment you open your eyes each day, you are given the choice to either convince yourself or let the world do it for you. Most people choose the latter. They let the world's noise dictate their mood, their thoughts, their energy. But this is not the path of greatness. The path of greatness begins in the silence of your own bed, with the first words you speak to yourself. And those words must be powerful. It doesn't matter how many times you've failed before. It doesn't matter how many setbacks you've faced. The past does not define you. It is only a story you tell yourself. The future, however, is your choice, and you begin creating that future with your very first thought upon waking. Are you going to choose to remain a victim of your circumstances, or will you rise and declare that you are the architect of your own destiny? The power is in your hands, and it's been there all along. Hill's teachings are clear. Success requires a definite purpose, a burning desire, and unwavering belief. But those qualities don't magically appear when you need them most. They are cultivated in the quiet moments of the morning when your mind is fresh and unburdened by the day's distractions. That's when you must stand tall and remind yourself of who you are becoming. Your words will guide you. Your belief will carry you. And soon, your reality will shift to align with the person you've decided to become. So make the decision, right now, to wake up every day with purpose, to speak the words that create your success, to be the person who doesn't wait for the world to catch up, but instead becomes the force that reshapes it. You don't have time to waste. Your future is waiting, and it's waiting for you to speak it into existence. As you stand on the edge of your own awakening, remember this: the greatest obstacle to your potential is not the world, nor your circumstances. It's the story you tell yourself every morning. It's the thoughts you allow to take root before the day even begins. Napoleon Hill's wisdom has shown us that the first step to greatness is not in achieving something external, but in mastering the internal dialogue that shapes everything that follows. Your success doesn't begin with what you do. It begins with who you decide to become, before the world has a chance to tell you otherwise. So let this be the moment you no longer wait for a spark. Become the spark. You have everything you need inside you, waiting to be activated by a simple yet powerful choice to speak the words that will shape your destiny no matter how you feel or what challenges you face. The power lies in repetition, in consistency, in taking that first step each morning, not because you feel motivated, but because you are committed to becoming the person you know you are destined to be. And in that commitment, you will find the momentum to carry you through the hardest days and the darkest doubts. You're not what you have been told you are. You're not the failures of yesterday or the mistakes of the past. You're the thoughts you choose to feed today. Hill's teaching of self-mastery begins with this fundamental truth. The mind is the most powerful tool at your disposal, but it requires discipline, focus, and the unwavering belief that you can master it. Your destiny is shaped by your thoughts, so why not make them thoughts of strength, clarity, and purpose? As you leave this space, ask yourself one question. What would your life look like if you decided right now to speak to yourself as the person you are becoming, not the person you've been? What would happen if you woke up every morning, not in fear or doubt, but in unwavering belief? The life you want is closer than you think. It's waiting for you to declare it into existence, one morning at a time. And every time you speak your truth, you're bringing it closer. So, I invite you to act, to take this message into your life and make it real. Don't just listen, live it. Speak those words every morning and watch as the world bends to your will. If this message has resonated with you, if it's sparked something inside you, then share it with others. Like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to this channel so you can continue on this journey of transformation, knowing that every step you take is a step closer to the life you were born to live. Remember, the first thing you say each morning is your first victory of the day.